We live first in a body, but our habitat, architecture, is our second body. And I think we have disappeared within it. And all that life has been sucked up into these vertical towers. At what point do we become both inextricable from this highly intelligent made world, in which our dependencies become so totalized that we can't function without it? I've never done this before, that in two locations you make one show that seem to be absolutely knitted together in order for me to be able to use sculpture to ask the necessary existential questions that, in my view, it is uniquely able to ask. With the white cube space, I wanted to concentrate in a way with the external nature of the built environment, and to engage with that context, engage with people on the pavement, and extract art from the context in which we have been normalized to expect to find it, and use it as a probe in the flow of daily life. There's one work that directly confronts the road. There's another work just sitting lightly on a parapet. And then a third work which simply sits in the interstices between two high-rise buildings, in the chasm between the two. And in different ways, I think those works attempt to be rocks in the stream of mechanical transport or people walking through downtown Seoul. By interrogating or infiltrating the outside world, to allow people to think of that construction of the built world as, in a way, sculpture itself. To recognize that buildings might have function, but they also implicitly have a meaning. You come into the gallery, you turn right, and there, hidden behind the right-hand wall, is a crouching beamer, again made from this orthogonal matrix, but in fact that matrix is completely randomly constructed, so the voids and the messes are very, very irregular, even though the method of construction is absolute. The very making of the work is an expression of the central theme of this show, which is to what extent have we become co-determinant with our environment. The thing that we have built, in the end, builds us. And this inextricability of our living sense of ourselves, in my work, has been translated into this absolute language of building, and talking about human vulnerability in the language of stability. I've put things in the sea, on the street, up a mountain, and in a sense, whatever weather hits them and whatever happens is okay. In a way, that's the excitement, but it's also the risk. So going into Thaddaeus' Ropac gallery, and right opposite you is this work that is called Here. It is a drawing in space. It's an extension of a kind of mapping of a body in space, which then maps the actual space. These are abstract bodies, and they're not about narrative, and they're not about representation, they're about being in space and being in time. And that work is complemented by another work called Now. So it's here and now. I think the contemporary urban life is so filled with obligation that we forget the extraordinary gift of being itself and the indwelling that being offers us. I've thought a lot about the body as a place that we can all go when we close our eyes, that I've always thought of as the closest experience of the sublime that we can have. Downstairs, there are 3 identical works called Stay. They are, again, a materialization, neurological map of the body that has nothing to do with actually the nervous system, but is almost like a three-dimensional underground map. Just this massive cast iron rusted line that makes its way around the internal condition of the body. Each of them have been cast separately. They are not made from a mold. They are made from constructed foam original that is buried in sand and then vaporized when the iron comes in at about 1300 degrees. So these are very particular things because they are almost a diagram of their own construction. Each of the works has a different position within the room. So here is a body bent at its midpoint to form a perfect 90 degrees. This is an interrogation through the body, saying to what extent can we consider ourselves still free when we have conformed and truly become inextricable from this environment. And it refers back to a work made over 20 years ago called Testing a Worldview, where I was really just beginning my journey of transition from body to architecture in terms of the thing that needed examining. This is a way of me saying, well, what are we gained and what are we lost? It's only in the Thaddaeus Ropac gallery that I've placed drawings. These are not preparatory drawings for the sculpture, but they add, in a way, an extra level of imaginative connection. I got to know Korea really through showing twice at the Gwangju Biennale. Korea is an extraordinary country which has gone through this massive expansion of industrial modernization. But at the same time, at root, there is a kind of understanding about geomantics, about the earth, about materiality. I'm excited that this work is in sympathy with a Korean attitude, with systems of imaginative thinking and spirituality that are less about the written word than about practice. So, broadly speaking, the offer of the show is inside and outside. Most of the work in the Thaddaeus Ropac show are to do with the experience of inner life and inside buildings. And the White Cube show is either internalizing the external condition of the built world or actually interrogating it by putting sculptures in the street. In the end, this isn't a thesis. This is about what happens when these silent, still objects interact with life. And that's the point at which sculpture has meaning